Why do I keep failing my ADI Part 1 theory test? Well, there could be a major change you're not really aware of. Do you know that in 2025, the curriculum was updated? If you're preparing for the ADI Part 1 theory test, there's a subtle but important shift that you could be caught out with. And unless you know what's behind it, you're not going to be prepared for it. From August 2025, the dvsa made one quiet but significant update. They updated the number of publications used to base the ADI Part 1 questions. Now that may sound like a small change on paper, but in reality it's completely reshaping the style of questions that you'll face. The shift, well, that's from recall to real understanding. In previous years, you could often pass the ADI Part 1 by memorizing key facts, such as what signs meant, what distances applied, what the highway code said. But the new question design goes deeper. The dvsa now wants instructors to interpret knowledge, not just recall it. So you can expect more scenario-based questions that test whether you can apply professional judgment in real-world teaching situations. For example, you could face a question that says, your pupil approaches a junction where visibility is restricted by parked vehicles. According to the national standard for driving cars and light vans, what would be the correct teaching approach? Now that's not something you can answer by memory. You have to understand risk management, observation principles, and instructional techniques. The expanded source material questions are now drawn from 10 official sources, not just the usual 3 or 4. The fully updated list is the highway code, know your traffic signs, driving, the essential skills, the official dvsa guide to learning to drive, the driving instructor's handbook, practical teaching skills for driving instructors, the national standard for driving cars and light vans, which again, we have a whole section of videos on if you want to check them out, the national standard for driver and rider training, driving instructor code of practice, and the official dvsa examiner guidance for carrying out driving tests. Now, if your study notes or your revision only covers the highway code, driving the essential skills, you're revising for the old test, not the current one. What does this mean for you? Well, you need to prepare for questions that test reasoning, not recognition. So here's how to adapt. Read like a teacher, not a test taker. When you study, ask yourself, how would I explain this to a learner? Think to yourself, how could the dvsa twist this question to phrase it differently? On our theory website, drivertrainingtheory.co.uk, you'll see a list of potential twist questions which helps you understand how the same subject may be covered, but with different wording. You can focus on the national standards. These outline what instructors must know and be able to do. This is why we've done a series on all the potential pitfalls in the national standards. Check it out. You can think how to manage risk with cyclists and pedestrians. What knowledge of lorry rules is expected, how to apply teaching principles in complex traffic situations, and of course don't skip communication topics. Many trainees lose marks because they ignore sections on feedback, question techniques, or instructional styles. These are going to be tested more often than ever. So we'll give you an example of a new style question. You're teaching a pupil to reverse around a corner. The pupil's rear wheels cross the centre line before they correct it. Which of the following best demonstrates an instructor's correct response? Stop the car immediately and explain the fault. Allow the pupil to finish it, then debrief them. take control of the steering or stop the situation from occurring, and then pull up and ask the pupil to describe what went wrong before repeating the exercise. The correct answer would be D, because it reflects risk management and client-centered learning, as well as post-fault reflection, and that aligns with national standard guidance. That's the type of reasoning-based question that could be now entering the ADI Part 1 exam, because the dvsa do not publish all the questions. So how do you stay ahead? Well, if you're revising for the 2025-2026 test, make sure your materials match the new curriculum awareness and expanded resources. They're on the front page of drivertrainingtheory.co.uk as well as our other sites. If you just go through the original resources, you're training for the old test. So practice ADI Part 1 questions and hazard perception tests at drivertrainingtheory.co.uk. Study the full ADI Part 1 course with in-depth guidance at adionline.co.uk. And for regular updates, tutorials and example questions, subscribe to our YouTube channel ADI Part 1, which is totally dedicated to the theory test for the ADI Part 1, as well as the hazard perception. Remember, this isn't a harder test, it's a smarter one. The dvsa wants instructors who can think, apply and explain, not just recall information. If you're ready for that shift, you're already one step ahead of most trainees.